Alright, before we start, I feel like I should preface this by saying, I am not a Croatia fan. I just have a friend who is. And before any of you ask, no, it's not Herbie Zach. I don't think he knows I exist. Instead, this video was inspired by a friend I met in university. She's a fan of the Croatian national team, and let's just say she has quite a few thoughts on Zlatko Dalic. But I feel like to tell the full story of Zlatko Dalic, we should start from the beginning. Despite Croatia consistently ranking among the top 10 in FIFA, the nation had disappointed in Euro 2012, World Cup 2014, and Euro 2016. Still, the nation had high hopes going into World Cup 2018 qualifiers. With a golden generation spearheaded by players like Mario Mandzukic, Mateo Kovacic, Ivan Rakitic, Dejan Lovren, Ivan Perisic, and Luka Modric, just to name a few, the Croatians were expected to do well under Ante Kacic, despite the manager being responsible for Croatia's upset elimination by Portugal in Euro 2016. And at the start, it seemed that way as Croatia went undefeated in their first 5 qualifiers. However, this was followed by a last-minute loss to Iceland, barely winning against Kosovo at home, an away loss to Turkey, and then bottling a 1-0 lead at home to Finland. These disappointing results left Croatia in real danger of missing the World Cup with 1 qualifier left and saw Kacic sacked. In his place came Zlatko Dalic, who had just finished a highly successful tenure in the UAE with Al Ain. His first match ended in success 2-0 against Ukraine, which saw Croatia securing the playoff spot over their opponents. Croatia would face Greece in the playoffs, demolishing the Greeks at home and then holding them to a 0-0 draw away. Then came World Cup 2018, where Dalic became a Croatian legend. Now, you've probably heard the story about 2,000 times at this point. Croatia topped their group, reached the final for the first time in their history, played 120 minutes in every single knockout game, and came back from 1 goal down in every single knockout game up to that point. In the final, they would ultimately fall to France. But to Croatians, their team had won in the sense that they had gotten closer to glory than any Croatian side before them. So the future seems bright, right? Right? Unfortunately, Dalic's side experienced a generational drop-off after their legendary achievements. The newly created Nations League followed the World Cup, and Croatia, they were awful. Only 1 win in 4 matches, a loss to England who they had just beaten in the World Cup, and not to mention a 6-0 thrashing at the hands of Spain, which to this day is the country's heaviest defeat. That loss and the 2018 World Cup saw quite a few retirements from the national team. This included Ivan Rakitic, Mario Mandzukic, Daniel Subasic, and controversially, Nikola Kalinic. There were also concerns that the golden generation were aging and that Croatia's best chance at silverware had already passed. Nevertheless, Croatia managed to top their qualifying group for Euro 2020, and oh, look at that, the tournament is postponed. Given Croatia's aging golden generation, that's not ideal. In the tournament proper, Dalic would introduce some new players to the squad. He was in the squad in 2018, but stepping in as starting goalkeeper was Dominik Livakovic. With Ivan Rakitic gone, Dalic relied on Modric, Kovacic, and Salami Lover Brozovic as his primary midfield 3, and to replace Mario Mandzukic, Dalic relied on 2 strikers, Dinamo Zagreb's Bruno Petkovic and Ante Budimir, who had just signed for Osasuna. And then there was the biggest newcomer, 19-year-old Josko Gvardiol. Having just broken through at Dinamo Zagreb and only a few months away from a transfer to RB Leipzig, Gvardiol was perhaps Croatia's most promising star for the future. With all this talent at hand, Croatia began their tournament with a disappointing 1-0 loss to England. A loss which saw Gvardiol making his tournament debut at left back, but also Kramaric on the wing and Ante Rebic at striker. Out of position. This guy had Petkovic and Budimir on the bench, by the way. In their second group game against the Czech Republic, Croatia fell behind due to a controversial penalty, but in the second half, the team rallied back and Ivan Perisic quickly equalized. The controversy didn't end there because the ref ended the game with 20 seconds of added time still on the clock. A disappointing 1-1 draw, and now Croatia need to win their last group game against Scotland to have any hope of progressing. In said group game, an Ivan Perisic header found the foot of Nikola Vlasic, who poked it into the net. Croatia lead 1-0, but on the stroke of half-time, Callum McGregor managed to equalize for Scotland. It isn't over though, as in the second half, who else but Luka Modric to equalize with a stunning Trivela goal, and late in the game, Perisic made it 3-1 to seal the win. As the Group D runners-up, Croatia would be facing Spain in the round of 16, but before the game began, it looked bad for Croatia because they'd be missing 2 key players, Dejan Lovren through suspension and Ivan Perisic through COVID. Despite this, Croatia started well as a Pedri back pass is missed by Unai Simon and he concedes one of the funniest own goals of the tournament. But in the 38th minute, Spain would respond through Pablo Sarabia. In the second half, Spain would completely dominate as Cesar Azpilicueta buries a header into Croatia's net. Then in the 77th minute, Ferran Torres would send Guardiola shopping and make it 3-1 to Spain. Croatia refused to give up, and in the 85th minute, Mislav Orsic gives the Veterani hope. And then in the 92nd minute, Mario Pasalic equalizes for Croatia. Ultimately, Croatia would fall, conceding to Spanish Højlund and Mikel Oyarzabal in extra time, spelling an early end for their Euro 2020 campaign. And while this team managed an incredible comeback in the round of 16, going out so early is still quite disappointing. In the 2022 World Cup qualifiers, Croatia started horribly, losing to Slovenia, but the team's form picked up afterwards, going undefeated in their next 6 qualifiers, with the only draw coming from a game in Russia. But the team fell behind after a Livakovic disaster class against Slovakia, and going into the final match day, Croatia would need to win against Russia to automatically qualify. And on a rain-soaked evening in Split, the Croatians came out on top through a late own goal. Topping the Russians by 1 point, Croatia secured their qualification for the 2022 World Cup. In the World Cup itself, they would be drawn in a group of death with Belgium, Morocco, and newcomers Canada. The Veterani's first game against Morocco ended in a 0-0 draw, and in the build-up to Canada, there were quite a few shots fired by Canada's coach John Herdman. The Canadians quickly forced the Croatians on the back foot as Alphonso Davies scored Canada's first ever World Cup goal. However, it seemed like the entire team hadn't learned about the concept of defending, and Kramaric equalized. Right before halftime, Marko Livaja took the lead for the Croatians, and in the second half, Kramaric grabbed his second goal. In stoppage time, Lovro Majer secured the win for Croatia and emphatically eliminated Canada. Croatia's last group game would be against Belgium, and all they had to do was avoid losing. Croatia's defender and new national hero Romelu Lukaku secures a 0-0 draw for the Croatians, securing their place in the knockouts alongside surprise package Morocco. In the round of 16, the Croatians would face Japan, and after equalizing against Moriasubal, Livakovic became the hero as he saved 3 penalties in Croatia's shootout victory. Then, in the quarterfinals, they would face heavy favorites Brazil. Livakovic would once again turn into the hero, carrying his side against the Brazilians, but in extra time, Neymar finally took the lead for the Seleção. But shockingly, near the end of extra time, Bruno Petkovic would equalize for the Croatians. In penalties, Livakovic continued his heroics as his save against Rodrigo would make the difference and send his side through to the semi-finals. In the actual semi-final, they got destroyed by Argentina, and aside from some controversial moments, this wasn't even close. But as a consolation prize, Croatia would defeat Morocco to win bronze at the World Cup for only the 2nd time in their history. Their next focus would be in the UEFA Nations League, and despite an opening 3-0 demolition at the hands of Austria, Croatia would top the group to qualify for the Nations League finals. But while preparing to face the Netherlands in the semi-finals, there was some drama in the team as Marko Livaja had an altercation with some fans and left the team. We'll come back to him later. 33 minutes gone, Daniel Malen is left with acres of space and scores the opener. In the second half, Gakpo fouls Modric in the box and Andrej Kramaric puts it home. Then in the 72nd minute, the Dutch defend like statues and fail to mark Mario Pasalic, who takes the lead for Croatia. But with Croatia losing concentration in the very last moment, Noah Lang forces in an equalizer in the last minute of added time. No worries though, because in extra time, Bruno Petkovic with a beautiful turn takes the lead again for Croatia. Then late into the game, Tyro Malacia clatters into Petkovic in the box and Luka Modric scores the penalty. 4-2 to Croatia as they get another shot at glory. In the final against Spain, a spill by Livakovic nearly cost Croatia, but they escape. Recovering from that early scare, Croatia go on the offensive and launch several promising attacks, but nothing could find the back of the net. Even when the match became more back and forth, Spain and Croatia had equally terrible finishing, and neither side could score across 120 minutes. Ultimately, it would come down to penalties. Vlasic and Joselu both go for power and both score. Brozovic and Rodri, the DMs for both sides go next and neither slips up. Captain Luka Modric and makeshift striker Mikel Merino both scored their pens as well. Finally, someone misses as Lovro Majer's shot is saved. Marco Asensio scores his penalty and it's crunch time for Croatia. Perisic keeps them alive, but all Spain have to do is score their 5th penalty and... oh, it looked to be another comeback, but Petkovic misses, and this time the crossbar can't save Croatia. Yet another chance at silverware. Gone like that. And now, Back to the drama. Remember when I said Marko Livaja left the team before they even played? Well, a few months later he decided to retire from the national team, and apparently this was because Dalić had blamed him for the loss in the final. Brother, he didn't even play, how was he to blame? Now, of course, this wasn't the first time Dalić had dealt with drama around a national team player. There was that whole Kalinic saga in 2018. Ante Rebic had been frozen out of the team since 2021 when he openly criticized Dalić and the national team, but this was one of the first times when Dalić was actually the one at fault. And don't forget, while he has brought Croatia closer to silverware than anyone ever has, he has also squandered chance after chance to actually claim trophies. Croatia's golden generation aren't getting any younger, so surely he has to make the next tournament count. And now for the section that prompted me to make this video. And if you're wondering, yes, I am recording this on a different day. With Euro 2024 on the horizon, Croatia entered qualifiers and weren't exactly convincing. The only definitively good performance was winning 5-0 against Latvia, but there were also results like losing to Turkey, drawing to Wales, and then losing to Wales. Croatia secured their qualification in their last match as Ante Budimir scored the only goal in a 1-0 win against Armenia. There was some really random controversy off-field too, because in September of 2023 it came out that Dalić had opened his own restaurant, openly displaying jerseys that he may have gotten through dubious methods. Is he forgetting that he's a full-time national team coach? But, you know, after researching this video, I really shouldn't even be surprised anymore. I mean, this is one of the most random national teams I have ever heard of. We've got a national team manager with his own restaurant, we've got a player with a father in the mafia, we've got Ivan Perisic who actually represented Croatia in a volleyball tournament. I mean, like, what else is new? They can't really surprise me at this point. Oh, what's that? Vida is his supplier? Anyways, going into the tournament, Croatia's players seem to be mostly in good form. Kovacic and Gvardiol won the Premier League, Livakovic just missed out on winning the Super League, Modric won La Liga and the Champions League, Stanisic completed that legendary season with Bayer Leverkusen, and Ante Budimir finished 5th in La Liga top scorers while playing for Osasuna. But there were also some concerns like Brozovic moving to the Saudi Pro League and Ivan Perisic, who suffered an ACL injury for most of the season. So going into the tournament, let's discuss Zlatko Dalic's squad call-ups. For goalkeepers, Livakovic, Ivicic, and Nedeljko Labrovic? Dalić could have called up Kotarski, who had just won the Greek league, but instead he chose a goalkeeper who played in Cyprus and a goalkeeper with these performances leading up to the Euros. And on top of that, given his statements, it seemed like Dalić hadn't even been watching him play. Alright. For centre-backs, Martin Erlich, Josko Gvardiol, Josip Trutalo, Marin Pongracic, and this guy doesn't know when to quit, huh? At right back, Dalić called up Stanisic and Juranovic, while at left back he called up Borja Sosa and... Oh, he only called up Sosa? Okay, well, only one left back. Mildly concerning, but I guess Gvardiol can play left back if he really needs to, so that's fine, I guess. For midfielders, Luka Modric, Mateo Kovacic, Nikola Vlasic, Mario Pasalic, Luka Sucic, Martin Baturina, and Lovro Majer. While at defensive midfield, Dalić brought Marcelo Brozovic and... Wait, no one else? Again? I mean, sure, Modric and Kovacic can play as a double pivot if really necessary, but Brozovic just spent an entire season in the Saudi Pro League, and the rest of the midfielders are all attack-minded. I mean, is Dalić really sure he doesn't want a plan B? Forwards, Andrej Kramaric, Ante Budimir, Bruno Petkovic, Luka Ivanusec, Marko Pasalic, Marko Pjaka, Marko Pasalic, and... After his ACL injury, are you sure? Croatia's first match in the group of death was against Spain, and it took less than 30 minutes for Morata to give Spain the lead. Just a few minutes later, Fabian Ruiz plays a game of Twister in Croatia's box and makes it 2-0 to Spain. Then, on the stroke of halftime, a high schooler assists Dani Carvajal, and Croatia are now trailing by 3 goals. Determined to make a comeback, Croatia grow into the game and almost score, but it's blocked by Kukureya. Late in the game, Lovro Majer forces an error by Unai Simon. Petkovic gets a golden chance to score but decides to dive instead, and what do you know, it's somehow given as a penalty. Stepping up to the spot, Petkovic's penalty is saved but scores on the rebound, and Croatia have pulled one back. Oh, never mind, it's ruled out for encroachment. In the end, it would end as a humiliating loss for Croatia. What didn't help was that Dalić seemed to have begun his delusional arc. Next, Croatia would face Albania. And looking at the lineups, someone tell me, why did Dalić start Petkovic? You had Budimir. Petkovic attempted one of the most embarrassing dives I've ever seen and still missed the pen. Why is he starting? With just 11 minutes gone, Albania deliver a cross from the right, and shockingly, the underdogs have taken the lead. Pressing their advantage, Albania try to capitalize on their good start, but nothing else could get past Livakovic. Knowing they could scarcely afford to drop any more points, Croatia turned up the heat in the second half and got many good chances. Their moment came in the 74th minute when Ante Budimir, who had been subbed on just a few minutes before, assisted birthday boy Kramaric. Croatia have pulled level. Oh gee, who would have guessed playing an actually good striker would end well? Then, in another moment of magic, only 2 minutes later, Budimir once again reaches a through ball, he cut pass to Luka Sucic, and an own goal gives Croatia the lead. Desperate to get something out of the game, Albania throw everything they have, but Croatia are holding strong. All they have to do is hold on for one more minute and... Heartbreak for the Veterani as they drop points at the death and are now in a must-win situation against Italy for their last game. But stepping aside for just 1 minute, clearly Dalić is getting a lot of things wrong. For one, Budimir has looked good every time he featured, so why didn't he start against Albania? Especially considering the alternative. And remember how Dalić only brought one left back in Borja Sosa? Well, he hasn't started either game, while post-ACL Ivan Perisic started in his place and hadn't impressed. Why does Dalić insist on doing this? Oh, and only relying on Brozovic at DM? Well, for anyone who's keeping track, out of the 5 goals Croatia have conceded so far, Brozovic has been directly responsible for at least 2. Spain's second goal when he got turned by Fabian Ruiz, and Albania's first goal when he lost track of the goalscorer. It's not like Croatia are China, they have other defensive midfielders like Kristin Jakic. Why weren't they called up instead of, I don't know, Vida? Anyways, as said before, Croatia would face Italy in their last group game. Croatia needed to win to guarantee advancement, while Italy just needed a draw. With neither side scoring throughout the first half, the advantage was firmly with the Italians, but in the 50th minute, a handball in the box gives a penalty to Croatia. Captain Luka Modric steps up, but he can't score past Donnarumma. Determined to make amends, just a minute later, Modric lashes onto a Budimir loose ball and takes the lead for Croatia. Knowing they need to equalize, Italy turned their attack up to 10 and pressed the Croatians, who are desperately holding on to their slender lead. Despite several close calls, Croatia have held Italy at bay, and with only 1 minute of added time left, they just need to stop one last attack and they'll go through. So, on only 2 points, Croatia miss out on the knockout stages and are eliminated early in Euro 2024. The disappointment was bad, but by this point there were so many retirements that the golden generation was all but gone. Dejan Lovren had retired after the 2022 World Cup, Livaja as mentioned before in 2023, and after this tournament, Domagoj Vida decided his time was up. He was soon joined by Marcelo Brozovic, who ended his international career with 99 caps. It didn't help that throughout his time with Croatia, Dalić almost always relied on that core of players, and so whatever replacements he brought in would almost certainly be inexperienced at international level. With the aging golden generation almost all gone, and with the new generation of players being so unproven, the future for Croatia looked uncertain. For some time, the downfall continued for Croatia. Their 2024-25 Nations League campaign got off to a bad start against Portugal, and this was followed by them barely winning against Scotland. And as usual, tactically, there were many questions asked. For one, the striker duo against Portugal was Kramaric and Pasalic, neither of whom are actually strikers. And the thing is, Kramaric at striker isn't even a new thing for Dalić. I mean, he has tried this a lot. And then, in the match against Poland, he started Bruno Petkovic and Igor Matanovic? What? At that point, Igor Matanovic had only played 2 games for Eintracht Frankfurt. Yes, 2. Brother, you had Budimir on the bench for both games. Why wasn't he starting? Oh, and we can't forget about Dalic's brilliant tactical innovations like Perisic at right wingback. For some reason. Then there's this team's classic problem of finishing. Croatia had 23 shots against Poland and all they could score was a Modric free kick. Which, maybe this problem would be partially solved if Dalić had just, started a better striker? This wouldn't change, by the way. In Croatia's comeback win against Scotland, Dalić started Perisic at right wingback again, and started Igor Matanovic again. Although, to be fair, he did score in this game. Next was the true crash out when Croatia blew a 2-goal lead against Poland. And yet again, Dalić tried brilliant tactical innovations. Andrej Kramaric on the wing, even though he isn't a winger. Martin Baturina on the other wing, even though he also isn't a winger. Ivan Perisic at right wing back, yet again, and he still started Matanovic. By the way, Livakovic was sent off in this game. And who did Dalić bring on in his place? Nedjeljko Labrovic. Out of all his tactical decisions, personnel decisions, I think Dalic's decision to trust a goalkeeper with this kind of form is the most baffling of all. Believe it or not, this wasn't even the worst of it, because in the international window of November 2024, Dalić called up 4 goalkeepers and 4 defenders. Dalić tried to make it 5 by classifying Jakic as a defender, but I mean, he's mainly a defensive midfielder. And sure, Dalić had more defenders like Marin Pongracic on the standby list, but are we going to pretend Pongracic is even close to being a competent defender? The man looks so shaky for Fiorentina, and for Croatia, he might be even worse. It didn't get any better because the lineups were complete nonsense. Let's break down Dalic's lineup against Scotland. The only players playing in their preferred positions are the goalkeeper and the centre-back duo of Duje Çalhanoğlu and Josip Šutalo. Literally everyone else is out of position. At right back, Kristin Jakic. He's mainly a DM, but sometimes plays right back at club level, so that's passable, I guess. At left back, Josko Gvardiol. Didn't really work at Man City, so there's no reason for it to magically work for Croatia. Oh, and he had Sosa on the bench. Next, the double pivot of Luka Modric and Mateo Kovacic. On paper, there's nothing really wrong with this duo. I mean, it's Modric and Kovacic. You have to have them on the pitch. But it's quite concerning that neither of them are actually DMs. I get that Kovacic and Modric are pretty much undroppable, but I feel like swapping one of them out for an actual defensive midfielder would be better. But it turns out, Dalić did start a DM, so where is he? Playing at number 10. How does this make any sense? All Dalić really has to do to fix this is switch Modric and Sucic, and this would be so much better. Look at that, a nobody like me coming up with a solution. How does this make any sense? Why force a DM at number 10? Explain that to me. Not just that, but the actual number 10s he played are out on the wings. Not a single winger starting despite there being 4 on the bench. And look at that, Kramaric at striker again. Apparently Dalić still hasn't learned. If I can say anything positive about this lineup, he didn't start Labrovic. But I mean, we're splitting hairs at this point. So yeah, suddenly switching to a 4-man backline after so many games with 3 at the back. Playing 8 out of 11 players out of position, this ended as a 1-0 loss for Croatia, which meant trouble because they had to avoid losing their last game to Portugal to advance to the knockouts and avoid a relegation playoff. And yet, this guy seems determined to terrorize Croatian football, because against Portugal, he played a back 5 for some reason, and also played Perisic at right back again, for reasons well beyond me. And you know the drill at this point. Attacking midfielders forced out wide, Kramaric played everywhere except his actual position, and yet again, this man started Igor Matanovic at striker. All 6 games. This man had Ante Budimir on the bench, and yet Dalić decided to start Mr. Inconsistent, an out-of-position player, and a striker who only scored 1 goal for Frankfurt all season, instead of the guy who finished 3rd in La Liga top scorers that season, while playing for Osasuna. I'm not even a Croatia fan, and I'm getting mad about this. Someone make this make sense! Anyways, in the 33rd minute, a ball over the top finds João Felix. The back 5 fails miserably to keep up, and it's 1-0 to Portugal. Bye-bye, Croatia. See you in League B. But luckily for Dalić, Portugal had already qualified for the knockouts, which meant Roberto Martinez trying an even more nonsensical lineup than him. And in the second half, Gvardiol decided he would do it himself and equalized. 1-1 the scoreline as Croatia just barely squeaked by and qualified for the quarterfinals. In the knockouts, Croatia would face off against France. Oh boy. But, this might not be a total disaster. I mean, Deschamps always tries weird experiments in the Nations League. Maybe he'll do that again. And he did. Meanwhile, Dalić seemed to have at least kind of learned. There's still weird stuff like Kramaric playing on the wing, but Perisic is finally playing on the wing again, albeit the wrong flank. Baturina gets to play at number 10, he started an actual right back, and praise be, Ante Budimir starts! Croatia got off to a flying start as they won an early penalty from a handball. However, Kramaric takes an atrocious penalty and it's saved. Not to worry though, because it would not take long for Ante Budimir to open the scoring off a Perisic cross. Gee, makes you wonder. Maybe he should have started earlier. Then, on the stroke of halftime, Perisic would score this banger of a volley and make it 2-0. That remains the scoreline as Croatia hold a 2-0 lead going into the second leg. In the match against France, they would unfortunately blow their 2-goal lead and eventually lost on penalties. And I don't know what it is about Dalic and playing DMs at number 10, but I really don't get why he's sticking with this. You have Modric and Kovacic. Why force a DM at number 10? Today, Croatia are playing in World Cup qualifiers. Dalic has started playing his DMs at DM, finally played Kramaric in his natural position, and he's finally kind of trusting Ante Budimir. Surprise, surprise, Croatia are doing really well now. At the time of recording, they're basically all but qualified. That being said, we still have yet to see how they're going to do in the tournament itself, and the future for Dalic still has yet to be seen. What should the Croatian Federation do with him? I mean, I kind of see him as the Croatian Arsene Wenger. Without a doubt, he is Croatia's most successful manager. I mean, no one can take that away from him. But the thing is, had it not been for his medals, this man would be on a watch list for crimes against Croatian football. For one, he has continuously implemented weird tactics, often switching formations for no real reason. There are also his odd team selections. Why on earth Budimir took so long to break through for Croatia is well beyond me. It's one thing if Budimir gets benched for another world-class striker, but more often than not, he doesn't start because Dalic insists on playing Kramaric at striker despite the fans' objections, and even Kramaric himself complaining about it once. There are also his corruption allegations, and not to mention his often shameless bragging about his medals. This man shows off his bronze and silver medals as if he won a sextuple. It's almost guaranteed he'll mention them at every other press conference no matter how badly the team is doing. There's always that feeling that he can't get the most out of this upcoming generation. After all, look at how long it took him to actually trust his young players. This man relied on a midfield trio of Modric, Kovacic, and Brozovic for as long as he could. Which, to be fair, I understand. They are legendary, their quality is undeniable, but it can't last forever because, surprise surprise, players age, decline, and retire. Not all of it is bad. His continued reliance on Perisic has eventually paid off since he has been in good form after the Euros, but for the most part, his over-reliance on aging players has been costly. Oh, and don't even get me started on how this man simped for Vida. On the odd occasion he does trust the younger generation, he often gets it wrong too. I mean, Labrovic has been one of the worst goalkeepers in Germany last season, but until recently, he was consistently getting called up. Same with Pongracic in Italy, but even worse because unlike Labrovic, he was consistently starting for Croatia. All while players like Pongracic and Labrovic get call-ups, people like Kotarski and Vuskovic keep getting left out. And the thing with Dalic is, sometimes he doesn't even seem to take his own job that seriously. There was a period last year where on his Instagram he kept posting his restaurant's food, and not to mention, this man has been repeatedly spotted watching other sports instead of, scouting talent. Handball, pickleball, you name it, he'd rather watch it than Croatia's young players. And Budimir. I get it, he's the most successful manager in the national team's history. But for Croatia to actually take advantage of their talent, they can't keep looking at past glory that still never produced silverware. They could go far in the World Cup, but assuming Croatia don't win the whole thing, or even if they don't make a deep run, I think Dalic's time is probably up. In theory at least. In my opinion, he shouldn't continue as manager. But whether the Federation is actually brave enough to sack him or not, that's another question. What do you think? What should Croatia do with Zlatko Dalic? Let me know down in the comments. If you like this video, like and subscribe, turn on notifications, follow my Instagram and my Twitter, yada yada yada. Finally done recording this behemoth. 13 pages, baby. Anyways, I'll see you next time. Take care.